just thoughts on Craig Berube, deal getting closer. Everything's pointing in the direction of Craig Berube being the next head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. At 4:07 today, probably highly unlikely that we'll see any type of release from the Toronto Maple Leafs, which means early next week, Monday a holiday, but by Tuesday we expect Craig Berube to be the head coach of the Maple Leafs.
Someone's offering me a, I don't know, $16, $20 million contract. I'll sign it on a Saturday. We can do that. That's okay.
As a person who wants to enjoy the long weekend, let's just wait till Tuesday. But yeah, no.
I'm enjoying it regardless.
Yeah,
so.
that's true. It's true. What are your thoughts?
Was there anybody close for you in this race?
No, but I do think that there is some matter of perception where he was the most highly coveted guy league-wide, it felt like. And the Leafs probably felt some pressure to land that, right? Given how high pressure everything is right now. You know, the pressure on Shanahan, they just fired the coach. So I think that probably encouraged them to go get a guy like Berube.
Excited.
Yeah.
You think about the guys out there and like the top coaches, and none of them really get you that excited. But to me, Berube is that. We've broken it down a ton because we've had nothing to talk about this week because there hasn't been an announcement. I think looking at it more with a critical eye and talking about it, maybe the more negative sides of this. But as a fan, seeing the Freed report today and it's starting to become more realistic, I have to say that I am very excited about this. And I think it's an interesting new direction for the Leafs to go on with a guy like this. I do.
Well, that in itself is interesting because if we go back to the start of Brendan Shanahan's career as a president of the Toronto Maple Leafs and bringing in the likes of Babcock and Lou Lamoriello, and then the major switch, right? Old school, old traditional, out the window, new face, new attitude. Kyle Dubas. Analytics, maybe not so much, but fresh ideas, new thought of skill. Didn't matter, 6'2" or 5'8". Bring me the highest skilled players. Kyle's gone. Brad Treliving comes in.
1 year of
More
Keefe.
snot.
1 year of Keefe.
And now totally back in to old school.
New Babs.
Old traditions. Right?
All right.
Berube, not X and O's guy that gets in the faces of Austin and Nylander and Marner if he's still here, Tavares or Morgan Riley, and pushes buttons.
There's pain coming.
It is. You know, you're 100% right. It's going to be fascinating to know what he's like as a coach of a team with real weapons. You know, Anthony Petrilli wrote an article on this today, so I'm stealing some of this. He talked about the type of players that the Blues had when they won the Cup.
Yeah.
Ryan O'Reilly led that team in scoring in the regular season. He had 77 points. So he's never coached a guy who scored 40 goals. He's never coached a guy who's had 90 points. And that's not because of the way he coaches. He's just never had that kind of talent on his roster. So he coached a big, deep four-line Blues team, right? They ran that fourth line. They played a certain way. It's really tough to know what to expect from Berube and how he'll handle having a 70-goal guy and 300-point forwards. You know, this is unique to him. So I don't even know if he knows how he would go about it. It's going to be something different than he's ever coached. So I don't know if it's easy to be like, yeah, here's how he coaches because he's never had a roster like this.
It's great insight. I do think, though, that, you know, those guys are going to do what they do regardless. And I think it's about how you get them to act as opposed, like, when it comes down to the playoffs.
I disagree with you. They're not going to get to do whatever they still want to do.
No, that's what I'm saying.
That's the best part of this whole thing.
But what I'm saying is that, like, they're going to, you know, coaching those guys, their attitude to me is what needs to be changed in the playoffs, and sort of like how they play in the playoffs needs to change. That's the number one thing. They play fine in the regular season. They look good in the regular season. When you want Berube is to be able to hold them accountable in the playoffs. Like, I don't think he's going to come in here and change anything so drastically that the Leafs are going to look totally different during the regular season. No. I just think it's when it comes to the playoffs, that's the most important time.
I think they've got a better chance to look in October and November like they did at times for Sheldon. Unfortunately, a little too late.
Well, you know what's good about that is we complain for years about the lack of first-round success. Well, they're always playing a very good team. If you could maybe not be 2-8 against the bottom 5 teams in the league like the Leafs like to be, Berube holds them accountable for those games, maybe you finish first.
Yeah, wouldn't be the worst idea. But no, I do think that I think the Stars will be held to a different standard. Mm-hmm. But in general, I think they're a pretty good team. Even if Keefe was the coach next year, I still think they're a really good team.
Yeah. We do have an important question. No, I agree. We have an important question to answer, though. What does this do for Kyper's Clippers? How does this affect us personally on this show?
Oh. We'll still read between the lines, baby.
Oh,
yeah.
I know
we'll be fine. We'll be fine. It'll be a little shorter.
It doesn't matter!
It'll be shorter for sure.
It'll be a lot more fun trying to dissect what he didn't say than what he says.
Yeah.
How about that?
Well, the thing, Sheldon could speak in code a little bit at times, and so that was part of the fun. Berube's didn't tell you what he actually thinks. So,
you know what I found interesting towards the latter part of his run with St. Louis was that little exchange with Jordan Kyrou.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, who's the Leafs' Jordan Kyrou? More skill, can score more points.
Is it Mitch?
No,
Willie.
Yeah, Willie.
I mean, Willie's better than Jordan Kyrou, but
no. I'm just saying no.
Yeah,
but Jordan felt like Berube was riding him too hard, right? And it was like 1,000 pounds off his shoulders. That's why he slipped with the comments that he made.
Yeah.
On the exit of Berube. And this will be Craig Berube. Maybe with Willie, maybe with Marner if he's still here, maybe with Matthews. I don't know, but that's the type of guy that is going to get in faces if he feels like they're cheating in some way, shape, or form.
How are they going to react to that? Because they haven't had, I don't know what.
The good news is they're grown-ups now. I think it'd be harder when they're 21.
And I'm not going to sit here and say that I know what Sheldon was like behind the scenes with these guys, and he could have been harder on them. I don't know. But through the media, which is a huge part of coaching and a huge part, especially in Toronto, what you say here is very important. And Sheldon was very hesitant ever to be very critical of these guys in the media. And when he did, we all know what happened. He goes back, he walks it back. It's a huge talking point. I don't know how these guys are going to respond to that because it's just been so little of it over the last 5 or 6 years. How do you think that? Willie doesn't really care, you don't think? Matthews would probably respond well to it. Marner, I don't know how they'd respond. I really don't.
Yeah. I do think that Sheldon had a long relationship with Nylander, right? He had him at 19 with the Marlies or maybe 18. He had him very young. So I always felt like he was more comfortable to give Willie a licking here and there and lean on him. But Willie, obviously, it didn't faze him. It will be different coming from someone else who, will hold his feet to the fire. So, but I expect Willie to be fine. I think
it's a good question.
It is.
Sam.
Yeah.
But Berube can't come in. He can't come into a place where people have been necessarily guns a-blazing. I think he also is going to have to adapt a little bit to different personalities and different whatever. So no one's going to come in here and start a fist fight. They all want to work together and get along.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll come down to hockey questions when, is Berube holding them accountable? It'll be about hockey, and I think they'll be all right. Not that stressed about it. Is there any reason to believe otherwise?
I don't. I do think that there was a comfort zone for them for a lot of years.
And that's why this is good. Get out of that.
It was kind of set by Kyle Dubas because he was a warm blanket kind of guy, right? I believe in you. You're not going to let me down. You're not going to let me down.
But even Shanny, the second, Kyle left, he called all the guys and was like, you're fine. Heaven forbid they're not under a warm blanket for 20 minutes. These guys have had it very comfortable.
So Saravelli now tweeted out that he will be named.
Yeah.
45. So it's we all know.
Worst kept secret.
Yeah. Worst kept secret. So, the next question for me, and maybe I don't know if this is jumping too far ahead, we're talking about a lot of the decisions that have to be made this offseason, clearly with the Leafs. like Berube is going to be in those conversations, no? Like if you're I'm sure they're giving him a big, shiny new contract to be the head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's probably going to have some input on player personnel, would he not?
He would have had Edmondson in St. Louis, right?
Yep. But I mean,
yeah,
there's a couple.
I think it's debatable whether or not, how much. I think he'll provide input, and I think after all these meetings with him, they'd have some idea of what kind of team he wants and what kind of look he wants. But outside of that, I think Brad Treliving's the guy to make those decisions.
All right. I just, I didn't know. When you're giving him what the contract's probably going to look like, you'd think that he might have some input on the player personnel.
I don't know. The number everybody's talking about is $5 million.
That's probably 4 years or something.
Listen, he had leverage, and there's no team that can give it away better than the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I don't think it would have been a hard negotiation, and I don't think they'd fret over $500,000 one way or the other.
Right. The term does matter, though, right? Like you'd rather overpay him, or versus the market, but not give him 5 years.
So
I don't think they care. In all honesty, they make gods of money.
Yeah.
Is this me reading into something too much? That this is all coming out at 4/18 on a holiday weekend?
Probably.
Okay.
I don't know, but do you think they're not proud of the hire?
I don't know. It's just like, why? Like, I don't know. It's timing and how it works or whatever, but it just feels like they're really going to send out a release here at 5 p.m. on a Friday of a long weekend. That's literally like the number one news dump time there is. Yeah. It's very weird to me.
I don't know. I can't wrap my head around what's better or worse to release, right?
Yeah.
Friday.
Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. was what I would think.
It definitely will give him a minute to get his feet set in the door. He's not going to walk into flashbulbs when everyone's up at someone's cottage somewhere in Ontario.
Yeah, that's true.
He's going to walk into a ghost town.
Yeah.
Mark Savard coming in to save the power play?
Well, they were together in St. Louis, right? So I would imagine so. My old coworker, Mark Savard, used to do Leafs Nation postgame with him and Gordo. So he
you carried him or what?
No. But we sat in, I sat with him and Gord in the boardroom here, ate a lot of sushi with him, and watched him watch hockey and talk about hockey and the things he noticed about hockey. I was surprised that it took him that long to get into coaching, honestly, the amount of stuff that he noticed about a game, and he was very thorough with that kind of stuff. So
I don't know how many years would he have been there for? Like what seasons would he have been with the Blues, do you think, Savard?
He was there when they won the Cup, right?
So 18, 19 till now?
And he was in Calgary last year, or was he was in Calgary recently as well. So, yeah.
18, 19 till now, the St. Louis Blues have had the 10th overall power play at 22%. Leafs were third at 24%. So, I don't know. Not 10th is good. 10th is good. Fine. You would take 10th. They'd take 10th in the postseason when there's 16 teams. Just not last.
Yeah. How much pressure is on I guess maybe there's no pressure on the power play guy to come in.
It's funny. I heard the Canucks talking about they were 3 for 9 on the power play. And they were saying, but we don't like our process. Like we're 3 for 9, but it's not connecting. It's not going well. Like the Leafs they've won a series if they could have been 3 for 9.
Absolutely.
And one for 21.
Whether it's Savard here or Berube with somebody else, we have to see what that roster looks like by September. Who's here and who's not here, especially on that blue line. They went out and they made a major commitment to Klingberg, which was a disaster.
Do you think they would welcome him back at league minimum? Like, I don't think anyone's giving Klingberg maybe 1.5 or something.
So over. Yeah, God. For them to hang on to that one is just another one of those, like, pie in the face to Leaf fans.
Yeah, just move on.
Right? Let's just move on. Come on, please. There's a big planet.
Yeah.
There's lots of players.
Yeah.
Find one.
Yeah.
I do get the sense from most people I talk to that are Leaf fans in my life that this is going to be a really well-received hire.
Yeah.
That I think, even when Berube got fired last year during the season, I think a lot of people were like, well, that was a guy that was immediately connected to the Leaf, even when they were playing well and the Leafs were playing well.
Well,
he was always a guy that was very interesting to Leaf fans.